After God of War 3 concluded, many fans were curious on how the franchise would continue after the post-credit cliffhanger. But in April 2016, Polygon found a concept art of what appears to be Kratos in the world of Norse mythology, and then 2 months later at the Electronic Entertainment Expo, or E3 to be short, Sony revealed the next God of War in the franchise, not only with the Norse setting that was featured in the article, but also a new perspective. Now, 2 years later, we are ready to unleash the ultimate badass once again, that is Kratos. But what had this gift from the Sony gods of Cinematica offered us gaming mortals? Welcome to the HUD everyone, I'm Zacharoni, and today I'll be your waiter who will be going through some of the features the game had to offer. So without further ado, please be seated, and here are the toppings on God of War 2018. After Kratos slaughtered his way through Greek mythology, he now finds himself in the world of Norse mythology, home to the dwarfs, elves, trolls, and Thor's mortal enemy, the World Serpent. I mean, just look at this humongous specimen. Kratos has now started a new family, but his wife, unfortunately, passed away, and the only person left in his family is a son named Atreus, who he must now train in order for him to survive the cruel world that they live in, while keeping his anger in check. After giving his wife a proper send-off, he has now collected her ashes, and now they must climb to the top of the tallest mountain to scatter them. And along the way, they will discover new enemies, friends, and markers that shed a bit of knowledge about the world that you can look at in the Codex section in the pause menu. Unlike past God of War games, the game presents itself in a third-person perspective, but the main quest titled The Journey is still linear with usual enemy ambushes, puzzles to solve, and bosses to take down. However, the game is actually free-roaming, but it's more like Metroidvania than Horizon, for you have multiple realms to explore, each with their own artifacts, lore markers, and chests to discover. Some required certain conditions to access, so you'll be backtracking to certain areas that you could not access without a certain ability that you have acquired on your journey. Also, there are some undiscovered areas to look out for. As you slay enemies and continue on your journey, you earn XP, which is used to obtain new skills in the skills menu, where Kratos can obtain new attacks and defense abilities, like one that can do an effective execution move, and another move that allows him to throw his axe at enemies like a boomerang when dodging backwards. Money can be used to upgrade his axe and armor pieces, but when putting on an armor piece or upgrading it, not only his stats increase, but also his power level slowly builds up, which can be seen on the top right corner when shopping or in the weapons and armor menu. And this is vital because there are some optional fights that can have a high level than you, and you will get one shot by them if you don't know what you are doing. And besides from the main quest, there are also favors that act as side quests, labors where you are given challenges to do, like kill a set number of enemy types or defeating enemies that are frozen for bonus XP, and treasure maps to discover that give you clues and pictures of where it is. The God of War franchise is no stranger to jaw-dropping visuals and over-the-top violence, and while the game still presents itself with sharp visuals, the violence seems to be toned down a little, but it still features brutal executions with less of the red stuff coming out of them. However, the game presents itself in real time, so speedrunners will be disappointed that cutscenes are not skippable. Unlike past games, human characters are now fully motion captured, so that means Terence C. Conson doesn't reply his role as Kratos. Instead, he is voiced and performed by Christopher Judge, who is best known as Teal'c from Stargate SG-1 and Atlantis. And his son, Atreus, is voiced and performed by Sonny Suljic. While Chris is doing the performance of Kratos, his combat animation is done and captured by Eric Jacobus, who is best known for its real-life fighting style videos of Street Fighter and Tekken characters. With the soundtrack composed by Battlestar Galactica, Bear McCreary. As for options, well, for audio, you can alter the music, dialogue, and sound effect volumes that can go up to 100 and can use headphone mode, but only in stereo. For video, you can alter the brightness and activate HDR mode in screen collaboration, alter motion blur and film grain, and alter the graphics from Faber Performance that rendered the game at 1080p, while Revolution rendered the game at 2160p. If you have a TV that supports 4K though. Finally, for languages, you can choose up to 14 text languages, 3 speech languages which include English, Polish and Russian, and can turn subtitles on and off. Now that the game is a first-person over-the-shoulder game, there's obviously some changes to the combat. For instance, Kratos had dish-hit blade for an axe called the Leviathan that he can aim by holding down L2 and throw at anything with R1 or 2, and then call it back with the press of a button. Although aiming assist is on by default, you can turn it off in the options menu in the camera settings, including altering the speed's horizontal and vertical rotations, which can be flipped as well. But when using it in melee combat, his light and heavy attacks are tied to R1 and 2. However, there are some enemies that are immune to Kratos' axe, so Kratos will have to utilize his bare fist to finish the job, and to switch from your axe without throwing it, press the right D-pad. But if he attacks an enemy in quick sections, a special bar is filled up, which is displayed under the enemy's health bar, and if it's max full, they are immediately stunned, and pressing R3 allows him to instantly execute him in gruesome style. But if you don't like this combat setup, you can swap the two buttons around or move them to square and triangle in the options menu. However, be warned that you have to use the two buttons to throw your axe at enemies while aiming. If you just want to focus on one enemy, you can lock onto an enemy by pressing R3 and move the right analog stick to switch targets. As for blocking, Kratos now has a shield that he can use to block incoming attacks by holding down L1, and pressing it at the right time allows him to do a parry on them, leaving them wide open to your attacks. However, some attacks can be impossible to parry. You'll know this with the red aura when they are about to attack, so it's ideal to dodge any incoming attacks, which is now tied to the X button. Also, since the perspective is third person, Kratos can only attack enemies that are in front of him, and that's where the threat indicator comes into play, presented on Kratos' torso. It indicates active enemies behind him, but it can change into two colors. Red indicates an incoming attack, and purple indicates an incoming projectile attack. And to prevent this, you can make him turn around by pressing the down D-pad. Along the way, Kratos will find runic gems that he can use on his axe for light and heavy special attacks, just by pressing L1 and R1 or 2 at the same time. He can only equip each type in the weapons menu, and once you use one, you have to wait for it to recharge to use it again. You'll know this on the bottom left next to his health bar. Last but not least, Kratos has a special bar that is displayed underneath his health bar. When that is filled up, he can enter into Spartan Rage mode. When activated, his attacks become faster and deadlier, but they only last for a few seconds, so it's all about when to use it at the right moment. Atreus also plays a role in combat. Kratos can command him to shoot his arrows at enemies to distract them, and can hold them in place for Kratos to finish off. And just like his dad, he also has a set of skills as well, like summoning ghost animals to aid in battle. But if you don't want any guidance, then you can head to the HUD menu to remove certain elements like the compass, health bars for enemies and bosses, enemies off-screen indications, combat HUD, and gameplay notifications. The game has 4 difficulties, and while the first 2 are simple, the next 2 are a lot different. For Give Me a Challenge mode, enemies can withstand your light attacks on your first encounter, while Give Me God of War mode still had the same conditions from Challenge mode, but enemies can level up during battle if you don't finish them off quickly. WTF indeed. And this is the only mode you cannot switch during your playthrough, so if you want to dial the difficulty back, you have to start a new game from scratch. At retail, you'll get it for £49.99 or lower depending on which retailer you are getting it from, which will take 50GB of storage, while the digital deluxe edition on PSN will cost you £52.99. It contains an armor set known as Death Vow, a shield skin known as the Exile Guardian, a comic and art book by Dark Horse, and a dynamic theme, which is also included in the limited edition that costs £59.99, with the exception of the comic and art book. Finally, for the collectives, there is the collector's edition that costs £329.99. Not only does it contain digital content from the digital deluxe edition, but it also contains a 9-inch Kratos and Atreus statue, a steel bookcase that includes the game, 2-inch Holdra Brothers carvings, an exclusive lithograph, and a cloth map that is used for display but not for drying yourself. Well, that's some of the features I can tell you right now, but if there are some that I have missed out, let me know in the comments, and I hope this will give you an idea of what you'll be getting for your money. Check back with me at the end of the month and I'll tell you what I think of God of War and all the other games I have been playing. And if you like what you see, be sure to like, share and subscribe to my channel. But until then, I'm Zacharoni. Enjoy your pizza and I'll see you next time.